Greetings again, and welcome to everyone that's come to join us to this last and final roundtable of GatherVerse Tech for Humanity Summit, the Middle East, day one. We're so happy to have each of you. If you can mute your mics until called upon, we have a lot to be able to unpack, and coming off the heels of really just incredible expressions brought by our other really impactful roundtable discussions. We're certainly happy to see everyone still here at GatherVerse.live, which is just your place to be in the moment to share with us together. Today, we're covering on the topic of expression of the human role of extended reality. There is a lot to bring out. This will be a very concentrated and very dedicated focus, moving quick roundtable discussion. I am adorned and situated with experts in different minds from quite literally around the world. And what we'll do is we'll call upon each of you. We'd like to tell you briefly who you are, 30 seconds or less, and what inspired you to be here today. Maria, we're headed your way. Then Sean, you'll be next. Maria, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Vilar. I'm an electrical engineer from Portugal and also the CEO of Immersive Studios. I'm like you, I moved about the power of and the impact of immersive tech in society, and I'm very interested in building ethical solutions here. So I'm also part of Immersive. I'm a board member, and that's our focus as well.
We're happy to have you, Maria, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Sean.
Hi, Christopher. Thanks for having us. This is amazing. My name is Sean Mann. I am from Los Angeles, California, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called RP1. We created the first spatial browser. And the reason why I'm excited to be here is it's important to really talk about the impact of not only what the internet has done to us for the last multiple decades, but how we can usher that in from an XR lens. How do we can connect with each other in 3D ways, which will be as close to reality as possible. And so it's quite exciting.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome back. Happy to have you. And Brandon.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brandon. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I've been in the XR space for a handful of years now, but my background is in computer science and biology. And a lot of just what gets me interested is, one, technology feels like magic. And if you can share it with the right people, they can also sort of get that experience as well. And then when you put powerful tools behind it, you really get to empower a whole lot of people in a lot of ways. And so I always try to come to these and, whether it's on one side listening or talking, just to really get to interact with people who also share those kind of visions and, hopefully learn a little bit. So, yeah.
Brandon, we're happy to have you and welcome back as well. Lauren and Avery.
Hi, sorry, that took a second. Hi, I'm Lauren. This is Avery. And I am the producer of the AI XR podcast and also recently joined Virtual World Society as their community and staff manager. I'm excited just to talk about deeper conversations because immersive technology, a lot of times we talk about like the hype cycles and superficial stuff like that. But I think with this technology, we have the capacity to, make things more inclusive, especially internationally, and just talk about how we design XR to be humane and inclusive and culturally rich. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Lauren, and welcome back. We're happy to have you. And briefly, Ian, please.
All right. I am the founder of Howler, Hybrid Online Live, where I try to integrate all kinds of disciplines so that students can learn more easily without having lots of problems. And then I try to fully take advantage of human emotion in learning processes because the social connectedness plays a huge role in the hyper learning effectiveness. So that's what I'm trying to do. So through my platform, I'm trying to create many freelancing job opportunities as well. And I really believe that in the future, private education should be available to everybody. In Korea, it seems like many people are not even interested in private education, especially among the underprivileged families. So, but they should know that in the AI era, in fact, this divide can be narrowed down, significantly narrowed down. They must know about this. that's what I'm trying to tell everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, and we're happy to have you, and welcome back. And Dr. Rongali.
Hey, hi, Chris. Hi, hope you guys are fine. Myself, I am Dr. Sateesh Kumar Rongali, and I completed my doctorate program last year from Judson University, Illinois. So I got this is my second or third event. This is my third event. I joined this. I think this September I'm joining. I'm very glad that I joined. I got your contact from Dr. Kion Abrasha, who is my professor, and I got to know great things about you guys. And by this event, I'm getting to know different kind of people and different uh, uh, different panel people and different set of new things that are coming up. So I'm glad to be part of this one. Thank you so much, guys.
Dr. Rongali, we greet you and we welcome you. Welcome to GatherVerse. And Brian, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm late here, but I'm the founder of Parallel Worlds, as you can see down here, and we're a spatial transformation company helping brands and creators more meaningfully extend their intellectual property in physical and digital mediums. We do that with a number of spatial technologies as well as digital rights management and IoT-based technologies.
Brian, we welcome you and welcome back once again. And Roundtable, I want to take us to a different place. You were purposely brought here together for a reason. And there's so much happening, but under the banner and the theme of the Middle East, we know that this is a bidirectional expression of events that we have, where we have people that are natively from the Middle East and those that live elsewhere in the world, because we're still one connected world. Transmetropolitan, transcontinental, we share an often seem to like, especially when it comes to universal or rather global impact of technology. I'm going to be able to answer or ask a series of questions, and we will be on and off topic. So give you that warning now. We will be rapid fire in this, and I would like for you to answer your questions as precise and as efficiently as possible. We do have a tremendous amount of people here that have come to join this roundtable at GatherVerse.live, and I can see that the interest is real, especially within the extended reality community and more. Those of the audience, when we talk about XR or extended reality, we're talking about technology, we're talking about applied science, and so much more. But shall we begin? So when I think about, Maria, where we're at right now, and then Sean, I'm coming to you, and then Brian jumping over to you, and then we'll go further as had. When I think about where we find ourselves right now in this world of hyperscale, and we look at what's happening with artificial intelligence and the scalability, but I also tend to think of something that my dear friend Ori Embar talks about, is that AI is the interface of, or XR is the interface of AI, which I think there is a rather a marriage pairing when it comes to this. And I think about the browser that Sean has built, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. And I say that with reason. Maria, while the world is so fixated, as they should be, and for many reasons, on artificial intelligence, I have the real and profound sense of understanding that this world is becoming and will become more spatial, if you will, more extended in ways, and that all we are really interacting with is typography, language, models, but we've yet to see the full embodiment experience. And I believe that the world is severely not ready for that which is to come, is to understand that we're about to look at the embodiment of AI rather sooner, in some ways now, but sooner rather than later. What does that mean to you from where you're coming from in the great country of Europe, or continent, excuse me?
Yes. So as you said, XR will be the interface. And it's, for me, it's very important because when we talk about the interface of all of these AI solutions, we're talking about the means to connect people. So immersive tech will be this connection between people. So I think it's really important to think about how are you going to, well, not start developing, because all of us, I think, somehow we develop XR solutions, but how can we here really develop a common ground to make sure that everyone that is involved in extended reality and in this new era, like you were saying, so in this new world that we're going to face in the next few years, how all of us, so I come from Europe, from Portugal, but there's here people from the Middle East, from the US. How can we make sure that we're building solutions that are ethical, that have everyone in mind, not just the ones that are privileged to really use and think about XR? Because as we know, we are privileged if we are here, right? Because we're connected and we use everyday technology that is not accessible to everyone. And we really want to make sure, and we should make sure, that we're developing solutions that are not just being developed from our point of view. I feel that's very important. For me, extended reality, it's an amazing industry to work in because it's so diverse. So we have people, for example, I'm an engineer, so I come from the tech part, but then we have designers, we have storytellers, we have people hosting amazing events at virtual worlds. So we have so many different jobs and roles, and people come from different backgrounds. So research, arts, so it's infinite. So we really need to have these conversations and make sure that the extended reality solutions that we're developing have this common ground of respect, of sustainability, and also of ethics as well.
Real quick, as a quick follow-up, Maria, and then Sean, we're coming your way, and we're coming around the corner. Maria, what is common ground?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer, okay. But for me, I think my first thought would be to make sure that we're developing solutions that have everyone in mind. So they need to be inclusive, and that needs to start at the design of the solutions. We need to make sure that everyone is involved, and we're not just, for example, developing solutions for European people or just for white people or just for. So we need to make sure that everyone is involved and there's no exclusion.
Right, and thank you for giving that and extending it out. To me, I hear global accessibility, I hear access,
for sure.
And I feel that the way that you've expressed that is fundamental. And the reason I say this, Sean, coming your way, is what are we extending into? What are we extending for? And when I say that, we're at a time where we're using, in some ways, technology that seems just as new as the day that we just entered into, but it's already becoming archaic. And now we're in need of new browsers, new interfaces. We're in need of new platforms, prototypes, protocols, applications to be able to get to where we can go, not just where we want, but where we are now able to go. Can you give us some more insight on that, Sean, please? Your mic, please.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yes, I think, we throw out the term XR and AI and how these are like their own embodiments, and they're really just tools that take what we've done for decades in connecting with each other and extending it to as close to reality as possible. I think the biggest challenge when you look at XR and AI, it's very expensive to run yourself, and so you're typically beholden on these large companies that have platforms and the compute power to run these systems, and you don't necessarily have the same freedom that we have today in running, let's say, your own website. And so the challenge that you have is XR is huge as far as taking it to the next level and connecting people all over the world. Imagine being able to put AR glasses on and someone in VR can join me in the real world, and I can see them. I can see their culture, their person, their facial expressions, and be able to engage with them, whether it's gaming or work or education. It just takes it to the next level. The challenge that we have is how do we make it where we all have ownership in this entire ecosystem? And when you have big companies that have the big budgets to have walled garden systems, we're going to have to play in their sandbox and not have the freedom, not only in ownership of what we create and bring to the table, but the ability to seamlessly connect with others with whether it's free speech or different cultural values or things that we want to share. You don't want to have the same rules that are guiding you versus the open ecosystem that we've really enjoyed with the World Wide Web. And if you think about the World Wide Web, it was the largest creation that man has ever seen, or I should say persons have ever seen. And I think it's important that we all have that ownership and how we're going to connect at that next level. AI is really just a tool to make it easier, bring services, bring things that can make our everyday life easier, whether it's shopping or finding things or any type of application that we similarly use with our current day cell phones. Again, it's just taking it to the next level where it's spatially aware of my environment and able to invite people all over the world to join that environment.
Thank you, Sean, so much, and we'll get back to you real soon. And I have a question to follow up, but before I go there, Lauren, I'm rounding you over, and then Brian, get prepared for what's next, please. Hot around the corner. Lauren, I think about this. I already hear a thematic that's brewing amongst us between Maria and Sean: global accessibility, access for the world, so that people can be able to come into this space. Here's the question, though. We're here with the Middle East and community and the global GatherVerse community right now. For what reason? For what benefit? Right now, we're seeing over, just in this year alone, $2.9 trillion invested when it comes to massive data centers. That's not just for AI. That's going to be system on chips, data compute, physical AI. NVIDIA talks about this, Omniverse, and more. We talk about being able to power and hyperscale the type of devices we have, the ones we don't already have, browsers and more. We see AI browsers that are popping up, spatial or XR browsers, if you will, that are coming to see, similar to what we see our friends over at RP1 doing. We know the engineers, as Maria just said, they're building and designing. I believe I get this profound sense in XR that we're preparing for that which is to come, for the arrival. We're behind, but we're doing our best to be able to keep up. My question for you, Lauren, with your mic unmuted, the question is this: when we think about the reasons to extend reality, what are we extending reality for? All the Middle East is listening right now, if you will, and they're sitting here saying, we have this new power, these new capabilities. Why go into this direction? And what is the ultimate benefit of centralizing with humanity?
Okay, so I think that XR as a tool is something that is new, and it gives us the ability to, from me in Colorado, to be able to connect with someone in the Middle East. So I think that alone is super powerful, and a reason that we should, adapt to these tools, because they're being created and they give us a space to feel as if we're present with someone in the Middle East. And then whenever we're creating these tools, I think it's important to make XR humane by just prioritizing empathy and accessibility. And this all comes from the design pillars. So making sure that the core design pillars revolve around inclusivity and privacy and all things that are ethical when designing them.
But Dr. Rongali, thank you, Lauren. But Dr. Rongali, as I sit here and think about this, I want anybody, but Dr. Rongali, I'll focus this on you for a moment. What are we extending our reality for? What is the reason? What is the inherent benefit? What is the essential benefit for us centralizing? Give me one of those, please.
So the essential benefit I can see, right? So we can prioritize all the abilities where people can participate equally. And also, instead of amplifying the biases, right, the XR should work against the systematic inequalities. And also, it will try to emphasize the mental health as well, which will avoid manipulative designs as well. So it's not just about the technologies, I can say. It is about the diverse voices which should shape up the standards. So the education, right, about this XR ethics, right, it should be a widespread, and it should protect the people who will empower them to grow as well.
That's a very fascinating response, and thank you so much, Dr. Rongali. We'll eventually come back to you here very soon. And Brian, I'm rounding into you now, and there's been things that I know that you've been exploring with when it comes to virtual worlds, if you will, and ecosystems. We see the question on this stage, but I'm going to have a little bit of alteration with it. And I'm coming off the heels of what Maria, Sean, and Lauren has said, and now Dr. Rongali. I think about a quote from Simon Sinek: people don't buy products and services, they buy culture. What happens when you bring the amalgamation of cultures together? What really happens? What really happens when this virtual ecosystems of interaction and communication ingress millions and billions of people together, not just with typography and font and likes and reactions and images and videos shared, but actual embodiment, humans, virtual humans extension that are so real, including machines, neural networks, that are so real that they're indiscernible to the human eye. What happens when we bring all of this culture together? Is there a benefit? Is there a gain? Is there a deterioration? What are we looking at with that, Brian?
Great question. Well, we need to do it thoughtfully, right? And what we're gaining is an ability to not necessarily escape our reality, but start reshaping our reality. and having more shared spaces and places and richer interactions with each other, and hopefully safer interactions. So what will come from this? Safety, if we want it to. But those guardrails, as everyone has discussed already, need to be built into the way that the system is designed. Accessibility and inclusivity is something that is a UX UI thing. It's an AI thing. It's also just basic telecommunications infrastructure and making sure somebody can get internet access or access to the types of tools that they need wherever they are in the world. But Sean,
Brian, before you move forward with that, I have to stop on that because I want to ask you to extend on that. If you'll be so gracious enough just to you talk about safety and you talk about being able to design safety in these guardrails, and it reminds me of what Maria just spoke about this need to be able to design greater accessible, and you have people like Sean that are building very frontier type platforms. But it seems to me, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me we don't have enough innovators. We don't have enough capital that are going towards this. And it seems to me that this is where a substantial amount of deal flow right now should be involved when it comes to building out this extension.
Yeah, but it's and as Maria touched upon, it's kind of an artist's, choice here. We need to build this in a thoughtful way. There was burgers and milkshakes and fries before there was McDonald's, but that was a Happy Meal. Right. So the way that something is presented to somebody is paramount. Right. And so if I speak a different language or if I can't see out of this eye, we should have adaptive interfaces that know that immediately and start representing information to me because of the disability or the language I'm speaking. So there's an elegance to that. And part of that is technology and part of that is artistry. And this is like what Rick Rubin talks about, where he talks about that taste thing, right? But it's about presenting this in a way that people can have healthier and safer interactions. But Sean hit on the idea of ownership. And we kind of uploaded everything to the internet 30 plus years ago and didn't add access controls, encryption, and ownership procedure. And we thought that was normal because we were feeling around in the dark. And we haven't known how to use the internet. We still don't know. And we're still asking the wrong question. We're saying, what is it? And it's not what is it? It's what are we going to make of it? And that's the real, curiosity that needs to take over.
Thank you, Brian. And we'll come back to you just a little bit. Brandon, does owning our own data, does owning our own cultural expression on these platforms to extend it to strangers near and far and to friends, family, loved ones, if you will, what is the benefit of ownership when it comes to extending spatially and growing?
For sure. I think having access to your own data and being able to say who gets what is beneficial. But back to the point that Brian made, we've been putting our data out for everyone to get for literally as long as some of us have been alive. And so it's sort of hard to put the genie back in the bottle once you get it out. And so the whole sentiment around what's mine and what's yours is completely, it's like if I pick up my iPhone and I go to a website, is that now my data or their data? And the ambiguity around what's mine and what's theirs is so, everywhere that it's almost like we get a fresh start, but even when we get a fresh start, we're still basing it off of something that's just so convoluted to begin with. And so the walls around it is difficult. So I guess for me personally, I would like to keep my data. I would like to have access to my data. I would like to say who gets access to my data, but to even know what I would even consider my data at this point. Is it everything that has my name on it? Is it everything that could have my name on it? It's so, ambiguous. And so it's a hard question to answer, but at the end of the day, I still would like to have access to my data. It's just, what do I consider my data at this point?
I find that rather fascinating as you say this. I'm listening under the banner of each of you, and Ian, I'm coming over to you because I think that while we need our innovators and we need our developers, engineers, and our designers, Brian mentioned about UI, UX, and there's so much more we make this play for ownership. I think many people don't even understand and won't even fathom the opportunity and the magnitude of ownership in the first place because there's such a lack of education, not just for those that use technologies, but even the technologists themselves. I kid you not. I said to an audience years ago, what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than a technologist? And in many ways that escapes even me, all of us. There's just not enough intellect that we have or understanding to keep up with this magnitude of scale. We need our educators now more than ever. Ian, why do we need our educators now more than ever?
All right. I mean, like today, educators' biggest role is becoming psychologists. Rather than like delivering just like simple knowledge to students. I mean, delivering knowledge to students is outdated now. So educators need to, manage their like student emotion and then handle their mental health. So even as you said, students cannot keep up with the pace of learning, and then the technology, advanced technologies. So teachers should be the one who deliver those knowledge to the students at the same time, managing their mental health at the same together. But in my opinion, in the future, I think schools should be the should be places like playground where they can share their knowledge rather than just taking tests and competing against each other and using their hyper language or like AI learning tools. And maybe use this kind of extra technologies would be helpful for this sort of education. But the thing is, these devices are kind of too fancy. I mean, for now, it is kind of too much for ordinary students. So these devices must be equipped in schools so that they can have more fun to share their knowledge and share their emotion in the process of learning. And in this process, I think educators could play a big role about how to use this kind of devices more ethically and safely for them, especially for their mental health.
Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that so much. Lauren, I'm coming back to you. Marie, you're next. Maria. Lauren, I think about this, and Ian brings about this idea of educators using these tools, these platforms that we're building. But it seems to me, Lauren, that, with your mic off, it seems to me that in some ways, technologists are in need to become educators, because teachers can't just arbitrarily pick up these platforms, these tools, as Sean puts it, and others, as tools, and just to be able to understand it, let alone to understand the inherent benefits and how this benefits their whole entire student populace. Lauren? Your mic.
Okay. Yes. So I definitely think that the technologist role plays its own role. And I think that these people wear a lot of different hats. Like, they are types of people that can, for the most part, empower others to use tools. And I think that having like an educator and a technologist is a very powerful duo, because then you have someone that's specialized in something, for example, like, let's just say like heart surgery. So the technology is really useful in this case because VR and XR and all of the above allow you to create things that, one, you can do over and over and over and just get repetition, and people can, like someone that is trying to learn heart surgery can go into the tools and just practice them until they feel really comfortable. And the like the error margin isn't life or death in this example. So it's something that is a lot less risk. And yeah, and just like in the creation of the experience or simulation, there are a lot less barriers to creating whatever it is that you need to. And you can even make it into fun and something that's kind of gamified. So you could make a heart surgery on, like, I don't know, a rhino. And you can make it fun, and then you can like take it to more serious steps. And it's just, there's a lot, there's no limits. Like, you really can create anything that you want as a technologist. So I think that's a very powerful tool.
I do think that's a powerful tool. I think it's a story machine. I believe it allows us to be able to extract what's in the confines of our minds and have our youth and our all different types of people to be able to see things in ways we've never seen them before, Maria. But we're coming on the heels of what Lauren just said. This is going directly to you. I think, first of all, with the questions that's on screen, I think we all can agree that there's no way in the world that XR will take the place of in-person community. I just don't think that virtual will ever replace the idea of physical, humane touch and interaction. I don't believe that, but I do believe that XR and extended reality does do things that are profoundly different from what in-person capacity just simply does not offer. What is that thing that differentiates the extended virtual layer rather than the material layer, Maria?
Well, I think the point was never to replace the physical world, right? So we're talking about extending our reality, not replacing it. So I think it's the first point. And then we need to think about really the power of immersive technologies when we compare it to other technologies. They're very different because the component of immersion makes all the difference. So here, of course, we have a lot of advantage. You can meet people from all over the place in the world. You can have that embodiment, which I think it's really important to have, of course, physical cues and at least having a sense of I wouldn't say touch, but of presence in these worlds. But I think the difference here is that you have those benefits of really connecting with people that you couldn't connect before because you have that component of immersion. So it's not just doing a Zoom call; it's actually being and sensing the presence of another person. So for me, that's really the power. But I wouldn't say that the goal is extended. It's to replace reality, because I feel that a lot of times when our narrative starts coming that way, we start looking like crazy people, right? Are we all living in a metaverse? Is that the future for all of us? Well, I hope not, because we're talking here about creating humane solutions. And that implies being human. And humans are people that, since the beginning, right, we work and we live in communities, and we really, I hope we are entering a world that we are going to value more and more these connections, and immersive tech is just going to be a mean for it. So we're not just going to replace the interactions we can have in the physical world, but if we cannot have them in the physical world, we're going to have these amazing tool, amazing technologies to really provide this sense of presence.
Thank you, Maria. I think about this, Sean, and I'm very locked in right now. We talk about ownership. We talk about owning a part of the virtual layer. How does that lead towards, when it comes to owning the virtual layer, how does that lead towards overall planetary betterment and human betterment?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I think the ability to participate globally at every level is I want to say a God-given right, if you will. And I think if you look at the internet, it was complicated in the beginning. To build a website, you had to be a programmer, you had to understand CSS and HTML and WebSockets and all these different things. And so it didn't make it easy for everyone to participate. But because it was an open ecosystem, tools were built to make it seamless, where now 10-year-olds can start up their own websites and connect with people all over the world based on ideas that they want to share. And I think we're going through the same problem today. There's no interoperability, there's no standards, there's no ways that we can all participate and build tools that make it not only easier in the educational system, but allow us to actually participate. So if you think about just the web right now, I can build plugins, I can build tools, there's Canva, there's billion-dollar companies, thousands of them, by building things that make it easier for us to connect with each other in different ways. XR just takes it to the next level. I really think people want to tell stories. We're all storytellers, whether it's about our culture, whether it's about work, whether it's about education or gaming or fun. And XR presents new ways that we can tell our story. And whether that's walking around the real world and seeing a piece of art, and I can get more things about that artist, more things about why it was created, it allows me to actually build trust with different cultures. And I think you asked a question earlier about what is important about the Middle East, what is important about the different cultures around the world. And I think human nature, what we don't trust or understand, we're scared. And when we're scared, we put up roadblocks. And I think what XR does is allows us, when we can't see each other, and I can't fly to the Middle East or I can't fly to different cultures, what's the next best thing I can experience? And whether that's putting a VR headset on or actually being somewhere and seeing them in their place. And think about it, if we want to come together, if we were all to have coffee, or even being on this GatherVerse, I feel like we are now connected to 8 other people that we can respect. You've gone through some steps to be a part of this environment, so we can kind of trust and expect that there's a minimum level of how we can interact with each other. And that's just on Zoom or just this type of product. Imagine now if I can see you and your embodiment in front of me when we can't be near each other. And I agree completely with Maria. I mean, this is not to replace reality. Reality is always going to be better than anything in the world. But when we can't have reality, which COVID proved, which being all over the world has proven,
Sure.
What is the next best thing? And XR really provides that equal aspect.
Just a brief follow-up with that, Sean, for those that may not understand, because I realize more and more when I find myself in different, as a merger technologist, I am in several different, if you will, sandboxes of technology. And I realize just as foreign as it may seem that a generative pre-trained transformer or a large language foundational model or a gradient descent or diffusion model may be foreign to somebody that operates in XR, interoperability also may be just as foreign. Go ask Sam Altman, what's interoperability? He says, I need to ask ChatGPT-5. So could you briefly just express to us that powerful, very powerful world of interoperability and why it means so much?
Yeah, interoperability, again, really, I call it the 1,000 internet problem. Right. So imagine if we had 1,000 different internets with 1,000 different browsers, 1,000 different standards, and each and every one of us has to decide which one we're going to participate at, which one are we going to build for, and do I expect everyone to want to go to my internet? And the good thing is we don't have that problem. We do have one internet. We do have standards that allow us to all build and join and create together. And I think that the challenge that we have when you have all these walled garden platforms is that they're not interoperable with each other. There's different standards, different tools, different programming languages. So we're all going hundreds of different directions, which it really creates more friction and only allows early adopters to share these technologies. We have to remove the friction of the XR industry. And that's what interoperability does. It allows for someone with one click to instantly be able to connect to someone anywhere in the world, whether in AR or VR, and be able to participate without having to download apps that require all of us to go through many, many steps just to see one experience. And so the embodiment of a browser was the most powerful invention 30 years ago because it made it simple for anyone of any age or any technical prowess to be able to click a button, learn how to connect, and instantly you have connections of hundreds of millions of websites. The question is, how do we recreate that ease of use with XR technologies? Because if we don't, we're not going to invite the masses to join together. And I think it's on us to build not only these tools, but to come together as a community versus continuing to go in 1,000 different directions, because XR will not move as fast as the web did unless we really come together to create a single ecosystem. And at the end of the day, the metaverse was supposed to be a parallel to the World Wide Web. And as far as I understand, we only have one World Wide Web, and I believe there will truly only be one metaverse. The question is, can we all build it together, or are we going to be inside of a walled garden system like Meta or Apple or Microsoft create, where we're stuck through fees and things and limitations on what we're allowed to create?
You see, and thank you for that, Sean. And Brandon, I see that, and then Brian, we're coming to you, and Dr. Rongali, and please, we're coming right around the corner. Brandon, I see a social responsibility with this. You know, we talk about, as John's talking about, the HTTP IP. We talk about this protocol, the very first protocol, the biggest protocol we've ever known. With the type of platforms that are being built now, the internet itself was never meant for this type of payload capacity yet. It still holds, it still survives. And it seems to me that if you look at what's happened from the information age to the applications renaissance to the AI era of compute, if you will, that it's drawn and creates a ton of business. There are jobs right now. The majority of the jobs on Earth right now weren't even here 100 years ago. It creates jobs. It creates e-commerce. It creates opportunities. It creates gross domestic product. It creates scalability. And it seems to me that we must move from this mindset of a fringe and fun opportunity to something that we must do. And it seems to me, based on what Sean just expressed and Maria, that we've really entered a speed bump, if you will. It's almost like, here's the internet. You could be connected. And then we go into this Web 2 of social interaction. But there's walls all over the place. But what happens when we remove the barrier to entry? We lessen these walls, Brandon. What could happen when people are now having to interact with one another, are afforded the opportunity, and also removing the fear of that unknown of who's out there on the other side of the moon?
No, for sure. I mean, again, my space of XR is in education, and a lot of low-income students. And so, even speaking from their perspective, where they don't even get to leave a neighborhood, let alone get on a plane and go to the Middle East, there are tons of opportunities that they don't even have outside of their neighborhood, let alone outside of their city and their country. And so when you take that and scale that to, everyday situations, you're really opening up people to not only just, experience a new reality, which is cool, but you're giving them new opportunities, because what it is exposure, and exposure is really everything, whether it's exposure to a new culture, exposure to a new job opportunity, exposure to a new field, whatever it is. And so when you open that field up and not only give people tools to build stories around that so that you can teach people whatever you need to, but, bring people into a unified space where everybody is on the same page, you really open up the possibilities for, cheesy, but anybody to become anything in a sense, right? And so that's sort of the benefit of having this connected space. And so just my opinion.
Thank you so much for that opinion. We always appreciate our educators such as you and Ian that have come to join. And GatherVerse education is one of our most important standards that we have. We have that for a reason. Brian, when we talk about this, I know that we've gone through this commercialization of the metaverse world, the virtual ecosystem interaction and communication, the singular metaverse, not metaverses, but metaverse, the singular metaverse. But I say that in a bit of a jest, but here's the reality. Here's reality. And GatherVerse, roll with us on this. Here's reality. If we do not move forward with persistence and more virtual environments of interaction and ecosystems of communication, we will find ourselves in a very, very bad condition. Why do I say that? It's because technology is a science, and science necessitates growth. And when you stop that growth in this particular era where machines are thinking, machines are able to grow, machines are able to innovate autonomously, and they will have that more capability. If we do not build the metaverse, then something else will. And that gives me pause. I think it needs to be 100% human, homegrown from the heart with the assistant of a tool. I don't think that tools need to lead towards this effort of hyperscale. Brian?
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I think this is where monetization comes into the picture, right? And the unfortunate idea of big business, and what Sean was saying is Meta changed their name to Meta, right? As all this was kind of happening. But they didn't necessarily have the vision, right? You can't buy the vision. You can't buy the universe accepting something, kind of what you're talking about, Chris. We didn't want Google Glasses. The universe wasn't ready for it at that moment, right? Sure. So you can't really force something of this scale on people, which is why Meta couldn't just purchase Metaverse, and why they didn't know that, as Sean said, Metaverse is a giant technology stack all the way from traditional telecommunications infrastructure to virtual worlds. It's everything in between. It's all around you. It is just the representation of the spatial web. That's right. But we have to find ways to have young individuals find meaning in all of this. They need to, yes, remain curious, as Brandon is saying. Yes, we need to teach curiosity. And I think that's what Ian was saying too, is the psychology of not saying AI is going to replace me and saying I'm not in control and I can't do this. It's no, the opposite needs to happen. We need to teach people that they shouldn't be shirking responsibility. AI is us. We created it. If we're afraid of it, it's because we're afraid of ourselves. And in a way, we should be, because we haven't treated each other very well, and we haven't treated ourselves very well. And I think that's really where we need to better understand how we are empowered by these tools, how we realize that we are the ones who are walking the AI dog, right? And we have the power to shape this. And again, ask the question of where are we taking this together? Not defining it in its moment, because it's all moving at the speed of light. It's moving so fast that we can't keep up with it. That's the problem at this point.
Thank you so much, Brian. And Dr. Rongali, do we become more healthier when we extend reality, when we become closer together? Do we become more healthier?
Yeah, I think we'll become healthier, especially for young people. So if we learn the technical learning curves, right, this will happen. So this kind of simulations, right, I can say it can model climate risks as well, like droughts and local waste. So we need to make sure, like whatever the crises that are happening, right, it should improve readiness. So with this kind of things, right, so this XR, right, can it foster empathy for displaced people as well, where we can place users in their shoes. And I can say the immerse education, right, it should spread some kind of awareness as well for sustainability as well. And if you see like public engagement, right, through storytelling or different kind of things, right, it can mobilize uh, climate action as well. So I can say in every crisis, I can say this XR, right, can become a rehearsal space for resilience as well, I can say.
Thank you, Dr. Rongali. And this brings us to our final question for each of you. You'll have 30 seconds or less to be able to answer. Each question will be different. We're not going to go cookie cutter. We'll be very direct and very specific. Ian, with the final question that we have, my question for you is, what is the greatest barrier to entry when it comes to educators in this particular AI frontier?
Oh, sorry. Can you say it again?
Sure. Sorry. What is the greatest barrier to entry? What is one of the biggest barriers that educators face right now today when it comes to the AI frontier?
I think the biggest barrier in this era is the fixed curriculum, the fixed education system. The pace of AI change is so fast. The public system cannot keep up with that. So that's why I think the public sector, the public educators have a huge role in this era. And I really think in the future, I think just all kids must have sort of like personal tutors and like sort of like mentors and who can deal with their emotion, as well as like the person who gives like all kinds of tips for learning, and like using the collective intelligence power like among teachers, teacher communities.
Sure.
And then they can provide like the quality tips and information to students, and they can interact with each other like very closely. I think that's how we can enhance the levels of our happiness. So we must closely act with. We must help each other. The teachers need jobs, right? And the students, like they should be given all kinds of private education opportunity nowadays. So it is possible, like with a very little amount of cost.
Yes.
That's what
Thank you, dear, and we really appreciate that. Brian, the virtual world as I've known it, and I stand on this hill, I'll continue to stand on this hill. What we know of virtual worlds is nothing compared to that which can be. Do you share in this sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think like many of the rest of us on this panel, we aren't necessarily, again, talking about escaping our reality, but reshaping it. Some people like gaming. Some people will want that type of experience. Some people will want to actually go into a virtual world that is totally unlike reality. Some people may want to ground the immersive media that they're interacting with, literally with reality. There will be an entire scope, but when we talk about the critical masses utilizing and accessing just basic information and communication on a daily basis with each other, that is going to be reshaped outside of any game or any, Candy Crush or any of that, right? And that involves legal, regulatory, monetization, all sorts of, it's why it's so complicated, is because this involves like every facet of our anthropology. And so it's a big thing. But yes, we have to be willing to take wherever that ember is lit, whether it's the virtual world for somebody or augmented reality for another. We need to be able to have them blow on that ember until it's become a fire.
Thank you, Brian. Brandon, I have a really firm question for you. As an XR educator, do we have enough students?
We have enough students. Don't know if we have enough interest, and it's very easy to get the interest. We just have to back to what Ian was saying, just switch up how we're doing the curriculum and things of that nature. It's you have a problem that needs to get solved to fix another problem that needs another problem to get solved, and so on and so forth. But I think there's plenty of students here. We got 76 million just in America, and we have a pretty big world out there, and so I don't think it's a student problem for sure.
Thank you, Brandon. Lauren, it seems to me that storytelling will help lead and to be able to help inspire people to better understand the world that we might head into, and that it's more than just science fiction. Do you share in the need for more storytelling?
Yeah, I think so. I think that storytelling is like what can make something more entertaining. Like how I mentioned earlier, like if you're trying to teach somebody heart surgery, but you want to spark interest and make it kind of gamified, I think that that's a really good way to have higher retention rate, because then they're learning something serious, but it's kind of fun and silly, and then you can take it up to the next step and actually practice it. Like for in regards to this example, like a proper heart surgery, maybe on a cadaver or something like that. So I think storytelling is a really great way to get people engaged and kind of hooked.
I see. Thank you. And Dr. Rongali, as someone that's been in education and academia for some time, is the world ready? Is the world ready to be taught this type of new education on this new infrastructure? Are they mentally ready to be able to take this world to the next level of what's going to be needed in this time of great disruption?
Yeah, I think people are getting ready. Like if they are not ready, right, eventually they are out of scope. Like if they need to enhance, everyone needs to enhance. And if it is become affordable and safe, right, and if we spread to everyone, saying like this is affordable and this is very comfortable for you guys to use, and if you tell them saying like we don't have security concerns, it make people more hesitant and people will eventually get adopted to that. So people nowadays they are getting adapting, and if you tell them more, and XR will have a massive potential for sure.
Thank you, Dr. Rongali. Sean, what is the most important next step that we need to be mindful of for the next 12 to 24 months when it comes to the extension of reality, that for the layman, the laywoman, the person that's not in this space, the person that's not in these verticals, if you will, what is the most important thing that they need to know to be prepared to get ready for what's next and how they can get involved and why they should?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you need to introduce technologies that affect us immediately, and I think the masses will follow. And if you look at cell phones came out and they were traditionally used just for business because they were very expensive. There were newer technologies, but there was definitely an ROI, so it was worth the corporations to get in and give the ability to communicate within their employees and whatnot. And I think it's going to be very, very similar. I think the future is really going to be AR glasses. And I know it's a hot take. I think a lot of people, I know Google Glass was earlier, like Brian mentioned, but AR glasses will replace cell phones. And I think for us to even think that's not going to happen, we just look at history. A lot of people, like, when the cell phones came out, they're like, why do we need cell phones? We have landlines. There's no reason to even have this. They couldn't conceptualize all the tools eventually that a cell phone will bring to your daily life. Grandmothers and grandfathers have cell phones today, and they can connect with their kids and their grandkids and do things that are pertinent to them. And then there's corporations that do this. XR, the AR glasses is going to allow us to connect in the real world, and it's actually going to make virtual reality more important. And I'll tell you why. Because if I can join from the comfort of my home someone in the real world and be able to interact with them that are things that are happening right now, virtual reality goes beyond a gaming console. And that's why Meta, when they brought out the Meta Quest, they had like 20 million sales a year, which is very kind of in parallel to gaming consoles. And they all of a sudden went to another direction because they're like, how are we going to sell 1 billion gaming consoles? The answer is it won't happen. And so they went to AR glasses, which every single person, imagine even a grandmother, grandparents can put on AR glasses and instantly be at the table or inside your children's houses to interact with your grandchildren and see them and interact with them. That is what reality 2.0 is. And that's the power of XR. And so I think right now we have to, as technologists, make it as simple, make it cost effective, and remove the barriers of entry to actually be able to get into these experiences. To ask someone to download Roblox, install Roblox, create an account, create an avatar just to get into one experience, and then I have to rinse and repeat on every platform. That's not inviting the masses, Christopher. So we need to create a way that it's a one click and I'm instantly connect with anyone in the world, with any application, with any AI. that is going to make it seamless for all of us to start participating in these technologies. And I agree with you. We have to move from technology to what it actually does for us. And that's the interoperability, the ease of use, and the lack of friction.
I really appreciate how this has come all the way full circle. And Maria, this is so appropriate for you and all the things that you do. It seems to me that when I think about this and the magnitude of what Sean just said, it talked about that one click, right? That one-click access. This is the same thing that we've done with GatherVerse.live. I wanted to make GatherVerse so you didn't have to log into anything to be here. And that's why the majority of the people, they don't go to YouTube, they don't go to LinkedIn, they're there. I know that y'all are there. But they are right now, and many of them are on LinkedIn and business and in your pages that you reshare, and X and more. But right now, they're at GatherVerse.live. We made it super simple, easy. And this is why we continue to sustain. Maria, with all that you do and the leadership that you do in this space, with your immersive and what you're doing incredibly in Portugal, I'd like for you to close this whole thing out with whatever's on your heart and mind, please.
Well, just my last take is that extended reality is not just going to change the future, it's already changing the present. Like Sean was mentioning, we're going to see a lot of updates on augmented reality, but also on virtual reality. Probably virtual reality will also be more important in areas like industry, and like Lauren was mentioning, training, virtual training. I feel like the last message here is really that all of us from all of the points of the world, we need to come together. We need to have these conversations and really to take this moment that we're seeing, that of course there's going to have a learning curve. There's going to be challenges, but we know that innovation is coming. So now we have a moment, we have an opportunity to really think about what is going to be this next frontier. So we need to take advantage of this moment, and we need to have these conversations to really make sure that we can create more ethical, more sustainable, and more humane experiences. Thank you.
Audience, will you follow these leaders that are with us today, these humans, these hearts? Maria, Sean, Lauren, Ian, Dr. Rongali, Brian, and Brandon, who had to leave. We want to say thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again at another GatherVerse Summit. We have a tremendous more to unpack, and we are not alone. Thank you so much for giving us this time that you'll never get back. It was well spent. Our Gather was well.
Thank you so much, everyone.